Please Don't Tease Me, Miss Nagatoro has finally come to an end. It seems rather sudden, and yet it is such a beautiful and poignant ending. Nanashi set out to do a certain thing with this story. Take a relationship that was so toxic and reprehensible and turn it into something amazing, beautiful, and worthy of all righteous envy, which is a little bit of a contradiction, but anyway, Please Don't Tease Me, Miss Nagatoro went from a story that gave people a little bit of the heebie-jeebies and goosebumps and became arguably one of the best rom-coms that is currently out there, transforming two amazing characters that we might not have liked at the very beginning, and yet came to absolutely love. But was this really the ending that the story needed? A lot of people online have been hemming and hawing and saying, well, there's a little bit more that I would have liked. However, I believe that the ending to Please Don't Tease Me, Miss Nagatoro is exactly what Nanashi set out to do from the very beginning. So, let's dive into why. Hi there everyone, Lars here from Camille's Harem. Not just a podcast for novice writers by novice writers, but also a YouTube channel by novice writers for novice writers. Because writing is an adventure, it's more fun with friends. Now, if you haven't already seen it, I will highly recommend checking out my rather long video, but very much required view at all of the amazing mile markers within the journey of Senpai's and Nagatoro's relationship. The reason for this is because Nanashi delivered a rather toxic relationship at the very beginning, at the beginning chapters of this story, and set out to take something that would have been just easy fodder for a hentai mangaka like Nanashi and transformed it into a beautiful, healthy, inspiring romance. And he did so by going very carefully, point by point, through various transformations for both Senpai and Nagatoro, to reveal the problems in their miscommunication, to reveal what they didn't know about each other, and what they needed to discover about themselves, confronting various problems and various obstacles along the way, personally and as a couple, or at least as friends, and then as a couple, slowly but surely transforming them into the people that they needed to be in order to have this wonderful, positive romance. So I've already covered a lot of the groundwork, so I'm ready to just jump right to the ending, to the last major moments between these two characters. Starting off with Senpai and Nagatoro going back to the festival. This is a trope that we see obviously a whole lot in rom-coms and in really a whole lot of different manga, where whenever there is a fireworks display, whenever there is a festival to be visited, that is the prime time for romance to blossom. There is, however, another trope hidden within that, where a character might say, I want to go see the festival next year, or let's go to the next one, or I can't wait to go to every festival with you. That is basically the character saying, I really, really like you, and I hope that this relationship will continue on. Normally, you don't actually get to see the next festival, but for Senpai and Nagatoro, we get to see this next festival. Once again, it plays out with all of the different kinds of games and friends and shenanigans that you could expect, as well as the fireworks. But this time, Senpai and Nagatoro, not only do they go to the special spot where they are going to see the fireworks unobstructed by all the other people in the crowd, but they are ready to join all those people in the woods making out. And they do. This is where they finally share a real, true, loving kiss. No weird shenanigans, no teasing, no bets, no games, no nothing. Lewd hand-holding and kisses galore. It is fantastic. Where all the other people in these woods are hiding out behind trees, making out and feeling each other up, Senpai and Nagatoro are in the open for everyone to see. Both of them wearing their kimonos in pure traditional garb and enjoying the festival together. The mini trope within the more recognized trope of the second festival, let's return next year, has been completed. This is the characters not just simply saying, I really like you, let's always be together. this is them signifying that they will always be together. So for a lot of the people who are like, well, I wanted more. I wanted Nanashi to steam my rice after tantalizing me with all of those suggestive scenes earlier, like ass and breasts and the onsen encounter. Ooh, I want more. Nanashi is being incredibly respectful to his audience and to his characters by, well, not giving you that, because this isn't a hentai manga, not at all. This is a story of two characters overcoming the toxicity in their initial relationship to become fantastic, wholesome, healthy lovers. That is this moment right here, and it is incredible. It is amazing. I've seen a whole lot of fireworks and festival moments in manga and anime, but this one is easily in my top 3 because it's so dang good, and it is a brilliant mirror of what we have seen earlier, but now it's reversed. Everything is just so much better, and again, these characters are out in the open, showing to the world and to each other just how much they love one another. That is peak. The next big moment, and the one that really caught a lot of people off guard because they're like, wait a second, this is the ending? Is the graduation, or specifically the graduation speeches. Senpai is just going to finally graduate. He's going to go on to the Tokyo Academy for Arts, and everything is going to be good old hunky-dory. Yes, he and Nagatoro are going to be separated by distance, but obviously, thanks to what we saw over at the fireworks display, their relationship is solid and secure. They are going to do fantastic in the future, no matter what happens. So what is up really with this graduation, with these speeches? Well, Nagatoro volunteers to give the underclassmen's representative speech bidding all of the graduates goodbye. And Senpai decides to volunteer to be the one to accept that speech and to give another one in return. And ultimately, these speeches are two characters overcoming their insecurities and showing just how far they've grown thanks to each other. Seriously, take your time and read through their speeches. Though they are ambiguous enough to apply to the entire student body, these speeches are ultimately love letters to each other in public. That is incredible. To thank the other for helping them come as far as they have, to let the other know of their dreams going into the future, and yet that those dreams, that the wonderful things that they've done, this dream that they've gone on together, is only possible thanks to the person that they love the most. And that is a really sweet way to close out the story. Yes, it is a bit anticlimactic, especially when you consider the whole fireworks and festival display and what could have happened between these two characters. But it is a sweet way nonetheless to close out the story and to really again show just how much these two have grown up and that it's all thanks to their relationship. Again, transcending from toxic to wholesome, it's just chef's kiss beautiful. But while the graduation speeches were the final chapters, there is, of course, the bonus material at the very end, which was incredibly wholesome and a great continuation of everything that they've gone through. As we come to the end of Nagatoro's final year in high school, well, her family and friends are celebrating her birthday. It's all great. She wishes that Senpai could be there, but granted, he's over in Tokyo. It requires quite a commitment of travel and of money, and yet when she opens up her big present, there he is in the box. Her friends had previously stuffed him on in there with a penguin in order to greet her for her birthday. And we get the happy gross, gross, gross as she slaps him, and everything is just hunky-dory. It's back to the way it should be. All of the friends and family together, Senpai and Nagatoro together. It is great. Well, as they part for the evening, they just can't seem to get away from each other. There's one more thing that needs to be said, and that is that they are going to live together. As Senpai invites her to come on over to Tokyo, you'll get another apartment, though she says, oh, I wouldn't mind it being small and all that. Obviously, I'll be sharing a bed with you. Wink, wink to the audience saying, you know what's coming next. But once again, Nanashi is not going to steam your rice because that's not the kind of story that we have here. But a great continuation, a farewell to the audience saying, look, there are other stories that I can tell between these two, and there's an amazing married life ahead for them. They are going to be great. You don't need to fear for Senpai Nagatoro. And maybe sometime in the future, Nanashi will return to them and show us where they have gone in their adventures together. But until then, really all you need to know is this, that they made it. They made it as a couple. They beat all of the tropes. They beat all of the expectations that the audience had. And they beat their worst selves and what they had between each other to become this incredible power couple. And that's really what this story is. And so, yes, while I understand, I think all of us have felt it to some degree like, wouldn't we want to have just maybe a little bit more, especially after all those ecchi moments thrown in throughout the series? Maybe Nanashi would give us that, but again, that's never really been the point of Please Don't Tease Me, Miss Nagatoro. In fact, so many of those moments arose because of miscommunications or of characters pushing boundaries where they probably shouldn't have, usually on Nagatoro's side of things, which lent itself to the earlier toxicity that we experienced between them. Now then, as I've seen a lot of people say, no, Lars, this isn't toxic, it's not toxic at all. Well, again, we view this through the lens of a rom-com and we say, oh, I love what I'm looking at right there. But let's be honest, that if some of these things were to happen to most people, this would not turn out all that well. And especially when Senpai wasn't really looking forward to any of these teasings earlier on, yeah, it definitely wasn't good. But that is ultimately what this story's about. Taking a negative, toxic relationship and transforming it into a positive, healthy one. Ultimately, that's what Nanashi needed to do. That's what Nanashi needed to show us. All of the etchiness is just kind of extra flavoring along the way. And again, there is a little bit of a wink and a nod at the very end, letting you as the audience know that, oh, there will be steamy times between these two, but that's between them. That's not necessarily for us. If you want that, there's plenty of other manga out there for you. Wink, wink, nod, nod, hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Again, we here at Camille's Harem, we support good, positive, healthy romances in fiction because there's surprisingly very little of it in comparison to all of the gratuitous and raunchy fluff. And that is one of the reasons why I just absolutely love Please Don't Tease Me, Miss Nagatoro, because it took something that I thought was just going to be awful. I just started reading the manga originally years ago because I was like, well, let's just see where this train wreck goes. I'm in the mood for just fire and destruction and hot garbage. And I was blown away by how amazing it became. I have loved this adventure. I've been on this adventure now for years with Nagatoro and Senpai, long before the anime was even announced, and I am so happy that we've gotten to this point. This is everything that the story needed to be. This is such a positive, hopeful, fantastic, wholesome, healthy ending and message that I would recommend Please Don't Tease Me, Miss Nagatoro to anyone. Yeah, maybe sure I'd want them to be maybe above 12 or 13 years old before they start reading this for some of the scenes that happen later on, but this is a story that I would not mind recommending to just about anyone because it is so good. Its messages are so fantastic, and the characters are absolutely wonderful. The arcs that they go on to become the people who they are meant to be is just beautiful. Nanashi delivered something that we could, in the future, maybe call a masterpiece, because of just how concise and wonderful it was all put together. But for the ride that we were able to go on in the moment, fantastic. The ending, while it might seem lackluster in comparison to some of the more hot and heavy chapters earlier on, did exactly what Nanashi set out to do. And that is what is most important. Now, if we do want to quibble a little bit that the ending seems maybe just a little bit lackluster in comparison to some of the earlier stuff, like again, if you actually were to end the story right at the fireworks scene where they kiss, the story would have ended on such a high note that people would be rioting in the streets for joy. But that's obviously not what happened. Why then would Nanashi take up extra space, draw things out, only to then conclude it so quickly with these graduation speeches and then the birthday party and Nagatoro and Senpai saying that they're going to live together? What benefit do we then get by stretching out the ending maybe longer than it needed to be in the eyes of some people? Well, it's kind of like with Tolkien's Scouring of the Shire. Why bother taking this moment to go back into the Shire to beat up some goons when the big quest of saving the world and destroying the One Ring has already been completed? Why go back to that? The answer is that there are still things for the characters that need to be resolved, that there are some important messages for the audience that need to be hammered home. Some people can argue and say, look, the ending kind of overstayed its welcome or was just a little bit anticlimactic, and I think that those are valid opinions to have from person to person. But for the author needed to do what they felt was right by their characters and by their story in order to ensure that they did everything necessary to conclude properly. It is okay to have a slightly longer ending to one of your stories. If it ends so abruptly, it might just feel very hollow and insufficient to the audience. But you also want to strike that right balance where it doesn't overstay its welcome to the point that it begins to feel anticlimactic, as though the author just can't yet let go. And that's going to depend a whole lot from story to story. Personally, I do believe that the ending to Please Don't Tease Me, Miss Nagatoro was exactly what it needed to be. It did not overstay its welcome. It hit every single major point that it needed to do, and I'm in that camp where I say, I want more! I would absolutely love more! But as Nanashi said, I have completed the character arcs that I set out to do. Senpai and Nagatoro are exactly where they need to be. They are madly in love. Their relationship is an absolutely positive one, having resolved everything that needed to be resolved. And while I can write a whole bunch of happy fluff, it might then start overstaying its welcome, and then the sweetness degrades a little. I don't want to do that. So let's end on a high note. Even if it might not be the steamy note that so many people wanted, it is the high note that the story needed. So with all that being said, I will tip my hat to Nanashi and I will say, thank you, Please Don't Tease Me, Miss Nagatoro. Thank you, Senpai Nagatoro, for this incredible adventure. I will be coming back to you guys in the future because this is just such a great story. It's over for now, but wow, it's so great. This is definitely going to be one of those go-to stories whenever I just need a nice romantic pick-me-up. But until then, if you are looking for new stories to now take up in lieu of the bi-weekly releases for Please Don't Tease Me, Miss Nagatoro, then I highly recommend checking out some of the books that I have written. And I have written my own little rom-com. If you want to check that out, it's called Notice Me, Send Pie. I think you'll really enjoy it. And if you're looking for more writers' reviews, analyses, and the likes, then please check out our other videos here on our channel. We would absolutely love it if you joined us for this amazing adventure that we call writing. And until the next video, y'all, tschüss.